A successful, well-adjusted life must be built upon a solid internal faith and conviction. This means that we must know with inner certainty where we came from, why we are here, and whither we are going. In working with human problems, I have always noticed that the troubled person is the one whose basic beliefs are deficient. Let us see how the doctrine of rebirth supplies a working formula for right conduct. If we have lived in this world before, we bring with us into physical birth the total of our previous abilities and debilities. We are not new creatures, but living souls in the midstream of existence. There is a simple answer, therefore, to the question, where did we come from? We came from our own yesterdays, stretching back over hundreds of thousands of years. The newborn infant will inevitably develop a disposition, bearing witness to the things he has done before, to the persons he has been. The practical result, in conduct, of this knowledge is that it is no longer necessary to blame our associates or environment for our troubles, or to feel that some are born to be happy and others to be miserable. We have earned certain good things for ourselves by former action. We have also made mistakes and permitted false concepts to influence our character. In other words, we are in the process of working out causes which we ourselves set in motion, either in the present life or in former lives. Although we do not normally remember our previous existences, if the law of nature be just, we must be in the place most suitable to our real needs. We come into life to improve ourselves, building new careers upon foundations fashioned long ago and far away. Someone will always ask, if I have lived before, why have I no memory of former lives? Would not such a memory be of the greatest value? Let us think this through together. How many of us can face constructively our memories of the present life? Often the major problem in a neurosis is that the individual is plagued by the things he remembers. But fortunately, nature has a way of submerging memory patterns, thus giving us a greater opportunity to make present decisions without prejudice, self-pity, or morbid recollections. Of course, we have a new brain at each birth, and this unfolds to produce the new personality. Even so, as the brain develops, it is apparent that the soul does bestow impulses, attitudes, and pressures that cannot be fully explained unless they originated in a previous life. Thus, although we may not remember incidents, we certainly bring forward with us the totals of previous accomplishments. Would we actually gain anything if we could look back over the long and painful struggle of growth? Would we live better today if we could recollect all the pain of former births and deaths, the wrongs we had done, the debts we had left unpaid, and the opinions which have burdened our spirit for ages? Is nature not wiser and kinder when it places in our new-fashioned hands the skills we have acquired in the past and invites us to use them in newer and better ways, free from all guilts, remorses, and repentances? This aspect of the doctrine of rebirth also explains the otherwise baffling question of genius. Is it accident, heredity, or the will of God? Each of us has capacities and potentials, and it may be wise to recall that the sons of the great are not always great, and from the most humble circumstances, magnificent human beings have arisen. Are we content to assume that we are merely biological incidents? Where would the justice be if we are only the products of some ancestral bloodstream? I am convinced that if ethics exists, if there is any right or justice in the world, the doctrine of rebirth reveals this more clearly than any other teaching that we know. Some have argued against rebirth on the ground that nature never repeats itself, and it is therefore unreasonable to assume that man should return many times to become involved in similar sequences of occurrences. I do not believe that this argument is sound, for the simple reason that life is a rich and diversified sphere of activity. The doctrine does not teach that we have to learn the same lesson twice. Rather, that there is more than one lesson. Once we have outgrown a mistake, It is no longer a problem. But there is far more to outgrowing than can possibly be accomplished in a single embodiment. The prospect of reliving a difficult career is not attractive, but Rebirth teaches that education is progressive, not repetitive. Problems can exist only in those areas where our abilities are undeveloped or insufficient. Some of us, for example, are no longer troubled with possessiveness, but we are still burdened with fear, or worry, or a bad temper. Recognizing our faults, we correct them, and we are then free from them, and have the gracious opportunity of turning our attention to those phases of our characters which are still troublesome. If we bear in mind that it is the soul or psychic self, and not the body, that is unfolding, and that the permanent records of growth are preserved in the soul, and not the brain, we will appreciate why we are so strongly impelled by our own psychic instincts and intuitions, which make available to us the real picture of our complete selves. If we accept the idea that the conscious soul of man passes from one form to another because of the divine impulse within it to know all things and to achieve all things, it becomes evident why we are here.